Hey guys, welcome to Picksburgh, and you're joining us for another episode of Collecting Profit. Normally, Michael's with us, Huddle Card Collection. He will be joining us momentarily. He's just on his way home from a baseball game, but we have a very special guest today, and that's Raul from AIH Sports and AIH Finance. What's up, Raul?
Hey man, how's it going? Nice to actually talk to you in person. Can you hear me?
Likewise, man. I've been really looking forward. Yeah, I can hear you fine. Are you able to hear
Okay,
me?
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I've been really looking forward to this, man. Been following you for a while with your YouTube channel and whatnot. Guys, I do have a link to AIH Sports in the chat. He also has a second channel, AIH Finance. I'll try to drop a link for that as well. Both links will be in the description. So if you're watching this back after the fact, both of those links will be available for you there if you guys want to go follow either one of his channels. So just to get started, Raul, for anybody that may not be familiar with you or your content, what does AIH actually stand for?
It was just an acronym that I used way back when, and I decided to, hey, when I started this channel, I wanted to keep that, and I just had AIH first, and then I added AIH Sports later on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about sports content before, and then I decided to turn it more into a sports card channel. I think over the past year and a half, and obviously, with the tinfoil hat stuff, as you mentioned in I think your IG live, not your IG live, but your IG post. So
I'm
I
prepared for
try
this,
to
man.
throw in
I'm
all
ready.
that. I mean,
I brought the tinfoil hat.
yeah, there you go, there you go. I think we're gonna need it. Like, totally, man.
Oh, I'm prepped, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready to talk about tinfoil today.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maddie. Appreciate you, brother. What's up, Zach? Steve's in the house. Appreciate you being here. My guy Big John's in the house. Good to see you, brother. Appreciate you being here. Ziggy Knows in the house. Appreciate you, Ziggy. But yeah, man, super excited to finally have you on the channel and to like actually get to pick your brain.
Right.
And again, I mean no offense by the tinfoil hat. It's
No,
meant
I don't take
to
it as
you
any
and
offense. No.
what you do, because like I said, I am genuinely a fan of your content. I
Yeah.
do think that it's needed to be able to have somebody to kind of speak up against some of the injustices that are going on in the hobby.
Right.
One thing that I actually, let me bring on Michael real quick.
Sorry,
So,
gentlemen.
Not a problem, brother. Did you at least bring home a win?
We did 5-4.
Nice. There you go.
Hey, Raul. Nice to meet you, sir. Sorry for being
nice
late.
to meet you, man.
My apologies.
Not a problem, man.
Damn kids.
That's right, Steve. Tinfoil time, brother. Yeah. So, what I wanted to ask you, Raul, is one thing that I've seen was a major kind of talking point against you and against some other people that do the same type of content that you put out a lot is hobby negativity. And one thing that you've really done was you've kind of put this from a perspective of there are a lot of negative things happening in the hobby, but you're not necessarily taking like shots, like personal attacks at people or being like, hey, this guy sucks because X, Y, or Z, or I don't like him because of this reason. You're basically saying I don't like these people because they're doing X, Y, and Z, and then you're backing it up with whatever facts you're able to kind of bring this out. Now, one of the main things that I've noticed over like the past year or so that you've really been called like a tinfoil hatter over is the whole card porn thing. And for like the longest time, it just looked like, it was, a guy with a small channel talking about a guy with a much larger following, X, Y, and Z. People might have said, you're jealous of card porn or you're X, Y, and Z, you know what I mean? Like you don't have receipts or whatnot, but like lo and behold, like for the past year, you were like one of the few people shouting from the mountaintops, like, hey, this guy is shady. Like there's something going on over here. Like, what is it that keeps you motivated to want to produce that type of content in spite of people saying that you're crazy or X, Y, and Z? Whereas, like, this is something that literally everybody from the very top of the hobby to the very bottom of the hobby is reporting on now. Like almost every major YouTube channel has had at least some reference of card porn. So, yeah, in spite of even some of those larger channels or larger people or just people in general, like it could just be Joe Blowout on the street saying, "Oh, this AIH is just blowing hot air. He doesn't know what he's talking about." Like, what keeps you motivated to keep turning on that camera and keep doing this every day? Like, in spite of all that.
Well, first of all, I like to learn more about the card hobby, even though it's been 5 years since I re-entered the hobby. Like
Mhm.
even some videos that I've done recently, I found out, hey, they could engage in fraud in that way, or I could add to my collection via TTM. I learned that over the past year. I never heard of that before. And some people may laugh at that fact, but I've added to my collection in that way. And sometimes I pay these athletes to have these signatures. So that's why I do it. And then sometimes, people make snide attacks at me, and it's a motivation to keep on doing what I'm doing, because a lot of times people, I don't know if you watched me when I was going after Curator like over a year and a half ago.
I've seen a bunch of different videos.
Yep.
I don't know which specific one. I've seen several featuring the curator, though.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, everyone before that video, everyone was cordial to me. Everyone was giving me high fives. But the minute I started going after Curator, that's when I noticed the attacks. And then eventually, when all of this comes out and everyone can see the fact that this guy is shady and sneaky, that's a motivation for me to keep on doing it, because, okay, I figured him out. I figured out, the issues with PWCC way before everyone else wanted to touch base on it. And people said that I needed receipts. I needed all this information. And let and behold, it was bought out by Fanatics a month before it was going to go bankrupt. So it's basically people hating on me is a motivation for me to keep on doing these videos. And the card porn situation, like you were mentioning earlier, that I sniffed out card porn before a lot of other people did, and people still throw snide attacks at me, which is fine. There's a lot of people out there, but this is the main reason why I keep on doing these videos.
Do you feel
Do
like?
they ever,
Sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do they ever? Does anybody ever admit you were right? That are not with you, the ones that are always kind of going after you. Do any of them ever come back and go, "Damn, he was right"?
So Neo Cards and Comics, sometimes we've gone back and forth at indirectly or directly. I've been a little more aggressive towards him, but I met him at the National. He's a nice guy, but he did a video saying that, hey, look, AIH, Dan the Card Man, and Ravel basically helped uncover all of this so people could see. And there are a few other people as well. So, there is Neo Cards and Comics that I can think of. Other people may have said it, but I didn't follow closely, to be honest.
For sure. Hey, what's up, Titus? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, that's a very good point. People that may have, maybe been against you at one point, but may now be giving you credibility due to like the uncovering of card porn. And because like, I mean, it's very synonymous. Like I know the day that this broke, I like even commented on your video, like, wow, dude, you've been talking about this for like an hour, or not an hour, but like a year.
Right.
So it's
exactly.
like this is like not even news to me, but like to like the rest of the world, it's now like nothing but like on the Instagram feed and on the YouTube feed is all the card porn stuff.
Yeah, like I think we're talking before air, and everyone thought that I was psycho. Like keep on doing these videos. Like, what the hell is he talking about? This guy's jealous. But I noticed a behavioral pattern. I didn't have all the receipts, but I've noticed something was wrong. And, some of these people now are quiet, or, like I said, they still throw, shade at me. Like, it is what it is. I mean, you can't satisfy everyone, but now some people have seen the light, and some people are new card porn, by the way, and they can't say anything about it. and they know that, they shouldn't be, talking smack to me or, making snide attacks because, I have receipts on a lot of people. And if I wanted to, I could just make their life not so fun if I wanted to.
I'm sure. What originally was it that made you want to begin making YouTube videos? And was Sports Cards your first channel, or was the finance channel the first channel? Because I know that your background is actually in the finance world, correct?
I'm an accountant, so it's more of a hobby, to be honest.
Mhm.
But I always like making finance videos just to learn more about them. But I created this channel, or I started working on this channel, I think in November of 2020, if I remember correctly. And I'm not going to get too much into politics, but around that time, there's a lot of tension. We were stuck at home. You couldn't really go out. And I needed a break from all of that. And I started doing videos about sports cards. I was speculating in sports cards for about 2 years, but wanted to make YouTube videos because it was a great escape. And then I was watching all these bigger channels and you couldn't go out, like I said. So this was the ultimate escape. And I just wanted to enjoy the hobby and learn more from it through these YouTube videos.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That was kind of like, I mean, I was doing it a little bit before the pandemic, but the pandemic is really whenever I switched into like sports cards and stuff like that, just as like, because I mean, really, like almost anybody who liked cards is just like pouring kerosene on the fire during the pandemic, and it's just like, oh, you mean like my Shaq cards that used to be worth $1 are worth like 40 now? Like, sure, I'm all about selling some of those.
That was insane. That was insane 2020. I remember some Michael Phelps cards. I didn't buy them, but I talked about them in my older videos. These base cards where you could have bought them for $2 in maybe November of 2020. And I think it was right before the Olympic Games because I think it got delayed because of COVID. I think some of them were selling for $40 at one point. I mean, you have to go through the actual listings, but you had a 20x within a few months. And I'm thinking, how the hell is this possible? I mean, I bought a Phelps auto card. And it must have been November of 2020. And because no one was looking at Michael Phelps rookie cards and Simone Biles rookie cards. So I thought there was potentially a play, especially when we were locked down and, they threw stimulus money. So I remember a Phelps auto that I got for 500 some bucks. And then after consignment fees, I sold for like 1,300, or I got 1,300 bucks, a little more than that. Wow. And that was double the profit in 4 or 5 months. I mean, I may have the timeline wrong since it's been so long ago, but I do remember it almost tripled within 5-6 months, whatever it was. So it was insane. I mean, that's a story to tell like 20 years from now,
right,
to the younger generation.
Absolutely. I remember like the bubble days, like, if like random Tyler Hero type player had a big game, it's like you were cashing in like, crazy amounts on their cards, even if you just picked them up recently.
I like the Steve Splenda comment. Aaron Invincible Hernandez. Yeah. that's AIH. Yeah. That's the name.
Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That would be a bold move.
Yeah.
Tell you what, he was a stud before he went crazy. Unless he was always crazy. I don't know.
I think he had CTE.
Yeah.
He definitely
was like one step ahead of Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I think there were some other secrets of his too, but I'm not going to get into that in this video.
Absolutely.
So what I want to know is, so why do you think, as you're just going ahead and, guys like you, and other people, who are, I don't want to call you watchdogs because I don't know if that's what you want to be called, but I'm saying, like, guys that are just looking at stuff and taking it at face value and saying, hey, I don't know, I see one and I see one, and a lot of times it don't come up to be two, it comes up to be some other number. Why is it that even though when you have the receipts and you show and you prove some of the stuff, why do you think some of these guys are still defended as hard as they are?
Well, like I said before, in our society, I don't want to dive too much into politics, but I noticed the pattern is that, okay, a lot of people may believe the official narrative. I always question the narrative because there's always an agenda. So if you look at the real life, it comes into sports cards. And I can detect patterns that others can't. I'm not being cocky. It's just that, okay, the real world applies to sports cards. And the same people that believe the official narrative have a real difficult time to determine that there's this much amount of fraud in this hobby. So I think that's the other reason. The other thing is cognitive dissonance, where when you're presented with information that goes against your own belief system, you may just brush that off and you may just call someone like me or Steve a crackpot rather than looking at it from an objective point of view. And sometimes they say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. That's what they say, in sports cards and outside of sports cards. I get called the same things.
Yeah. But you're only that when you're wrong most of the time, because normally the conspiracy people are the guys out there chasing Bigfoot or, out in the fields looking for lights at night or,
Right.
Nothing against people that do that, but you're literally pointing out things that are actually happening and saying, hey, I'm literally calling a spade. Like this guy is like ripping people off. He's doing X, Y, and Z,
right.
Like you've done that amongst many different people for many different reasons, you know what I mean? And,
right.
So for me, the conspiracy theory thing only really holds weight if you're consistently wrong or you're consistently out there like coming up with nothing, you know what I mean?
Right,
but the fact that you actually now like not only have receipts, but like there's other people out there making receipts for you in the forms of videos now when it comes to card porn and some of these other things as well.
Oh, exactly. And it's just quite strange, like you said earlier, when I do have information that does prove them wrong, they just can't see it for some reason because they're just so blinded by their ideology. It's still the strangest thing that I've seen. You could show them everything you can, and they said that I need more documentation.
Right.
Did you ever have a hunch about somebody and then like after looking into them a little bit deeper or like after like getting to know them, you're like, maybe I had them wrong? Or are you pretty much like once you have a guy pegged, it's like this dude's a scumbag?
Yeah, pretty much after like it takes like one or two things and I'm like, yeah, this guy is a dirtbag.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I keep it to myself for obvious reasons, If sometimes they're too big of an account, do I want to ruffle feathers? Do I want to deal with the nonsense going back and forth? There's some people on Instagram right now where I could technically start something with, but it's probably not in my best interest because I still like their content.
Mm-hmm.
But, if they do start something with me and I think that they're detrimental to the hobby at that point, then yeah, I'm going to definitely cover it.
I'm with you, Dom. He says Bigfoot's kind of an a-hole. That's true. He didn't give them no rent or anything from what I remember of that movie. What a freeloader Bigfoot was.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting, that how many people there are who, again, like you said before, they just don't want to believe, even though you show them, basic stuff, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess they're afraid to believe that this is not a pure industry, and they think, oh, it has to be because it's just a hobby and it's cardboard and looking at people on cardboard or getting patches or autographs. They're just cardboard. This can't be bad. And it's odd that, like I said, you can point stuff out, blatant stuff, and people still go, no. Or they just can't see certain things. Like, like when the Backyard Bros were pulling those cards and just statistically, it didn't make sense. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but statistically, it didn't make sense. Yet nobody wanted it. No, everybody was wrong. Everybody was wrong. Everybody was wrong. And it stinks because, everybody's not wrong. People are not wrong all the time.
Exactly. And then I remember like there were videos. I don't know if you've heard of Cage Lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was making videos like indirect jabs at me. He still does that to this day, even though I met him at the National. But regardless, he was just mocking, saying, oh, yeah, Packard breaks, they get loaded boxes. And he was saying that it's absurd that it happens. And then I see people from the industry. I think it was Card Ladder. I think it was, I don't know if it's Sports Card Nonsense. I've interacted with them as well. But they were in disbelief, to my understanding, that there's loaded boxes. Maybe they don't want to piss off a sponsor, and I get that. If I were in their situation, I probably would have avoided the talking point. But they wanted to talk about it, saying, like, these guys are nuts and conspiracy theorists. And then when Sports Card Radio does the expose that you could use basically a code to determine which one has a hot box or not, a lot of people shut up. And then now I do videos saying, hey, look, I think this person's getting loaded boxes. I'm looking at the odds. Topps has, statistics of how much probability you could pick up this card. And people say that I'm a nut job for saying that. And I'm saying, I think this may be used for a marketing purpose. And I get labeled a bad guy. I'm like, okay, this is just my own thoughts. They just want receipts. They want me to be the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. I'm a blogger.
Yeah.
And I just speak my mind. If you don't want to listen, you don't want to listen. Watch something that makes you happy in this hobby.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about the whole box thing and this and the other thing. Yet, Topps knew that there were 95 non-autographed superfractors in Bowman U, one of ones. They knew. They knew there were 95. No, not 93, not 100, but 95. They knew that for a fact. But then you're going to tell me you don't know where stuff goes?
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
In my opinion, I have to be careful. I think they knew, and I believe they did this for a marketing purpose. Now, do we have full 100% confirmation? No, but the behavior pattern looks odd. I mean, just like I think it was Michael Rubin's buddy pulled a Jackie Robinson card. Do you remember that from a couple of months ago? He was on video that went viral, and they got like a scarce Jackie Robinson autograph card. I think
that was the one where the guy didn't even know who it was, right? Was that the one? Was he with the soccer player or something like that?
I think so.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that too. Like, and I remember thinking, how the hell do you not know who Jackie Robinson is? Like,
yeah, I mean, like, come on.
People that don't know sports know who he is just because of what he did for like the race barrier. Like,
right.
Like his numbers retired in Pittsburgh because of what he did for the race barrier.
I think it everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I think once again, going back to Cage Lawyer like threw an indirect shot at me the other day saying, oh, we're the tinfoil hat guys because the Babe Ruth superfractor was pulled by a small time breaker. Well, I think Fanatics, first of all, they promoted that break. So a lot of people spent money to try to get that card, but it wasn't at their breakers, any of the breakers that break with them. Is that a small time breaker? Now, the other conspiracy theory is that Fanatics know they give it to a small time breaker to try to get more people to buy into the breaks. I don't know.
Could be possible.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would make sense that they're trying to do a lot of this based on marketing. And if they're
Right.
doing that,
Exactly.
then of course you're going to send it to the backyard bros who have like a bunch of followers. You're going to send it to some of
Backyard
the
Bros,
bigger
I think they're on Whatnot though.
Oh, okay. So maybe that wouldn't make sense for the backyard bros, but
I mean, like, I think Mama Breaks, I think Blez, they're on the Fanatics app. I think Santiago and a few others. I don't remember the top of my head, but I think these are the people that are on their app.
mhm.
Leighton, I believe, breaks on there now.
Oh, really?
I
Huh.
believe so. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I know the backyard guys, they were doing a lot of stuff on Twitch.
Yeah.
They were doing a lot of stuff there and everything.
I
don't
think
know.
you can through Whatnot go to Twitch and like other places too, like at the same time. So that might be why.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
they do. They do. That's why, like I was saying, everybody is, everybody thinks it's going to be great. Everything's going to be great, and it's funny. Like I've said this before, when, if you want to say like the investor part of me, which I don't consider myself an investor, I'm a flipper. I will go ahead and buy. Like I'm not looking and taking a card and going, man, I'm going to hold this for 20 years. And I'm going to use it as, 401k or, I don't really like, to me, if I pull a card that's worth, some money, I'm looking to go ahead, if I sell that card, I mean, I may keep it, but if I decide to sell it, I'm really selling it to buy either, more boxes or more of a better card for my PC, so when I think about like what Fanatics is doing, if they truly want everything everywhere and they want to flood the market with cards, I would think the investors are not going to be happy with that. And then I'm wondering, do they start working or start talking to the people at Fanatics, be like, hey, we need to figure something out here. We can't have these cards going to, for lack of better words, the general public, right? They need to go to the influencer people and not just, not just a couple of guys, in Iowa somewhere or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's my thought process, because you're trying to maximize revenue if you're Fanatics. And what's the best way to do it? Make sure that someone on social media with a big following on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, probably Instagram's the best now for all of this, and make sure that one of the breakers gets it that's affiliated with you, so you can then have all this engagement and everyone gets excited, and then get the newbies in, because now, they have Tom Brady. They did some event with Tom Brady the other day. I think Kevin Hart the other day. So they're going to use these breakers and these celebrities, in my opinion, to pump all this product out, while the average Joe trying to get into these breaks, while some may be lucky, a lot of them won't.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny. You're going to see some of these higher end products. I mean, you look at some of them, what they throw together. I mean, buy-in's going to wind up being $400, $500, $600 on the lower end stuff now, because they're going to get pumped up so much, and people are going to get so hyped up by these celebrities going ahead and pushing it, and
Right.
and who knows what happens then, right? How then how much of the people get priced out of the market to where now, you can't, it basically turns, into something other than a hobby.
Oh, exactly. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in your opinion, like, even if they are able to somehow 10x the hobby through like all of this marketing or whatever they're doing, how much of that 10x are they going to actually be able to hold on to whenever most of those people aren't going to actually be getting the hits, if they are actually sending it to, breaker XYZ or influencer XYZ to make sure it's put out in front of as many eyes as possible? Because if I'm thinking of it this way, if like marketing really is what they're after, then if Joe Blow over there in Iowa opens up a box and gets this crazy, insane 1 of 1, it's like, did you just waste that 1 of 1 on Joe Blow? But meanwhile, Joe Blow should have the same access that any, bigger influencer or breaker or whomever should have. Like, that's what they basically say whenever they give you the pack odds. But if they're able to identify which one of them boxes are the better boxes and they allocate those, to whomever to make sure that it gets put out there. Whereas, it's a risk whether, Joe Blow over there in Iowa even has a phone. You know what I mean? He could be an old guy. He might not even be on social media. You know what I mean? But he likes ripping packs, So I could totally see it being something like that where, they do have like a certain number of hits that they do probably allocate just to make sure that it is somewhat in front of people. Because I can tell you, like, I've posted a ton of boxes to my channel, and it's like there's like 40 views because it's like, guess what? We hit like what Joe Blow got in Iowa because all the good hits probably went somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, we've all opened packs. I've never gotten a hit. That's why I'd rather buy the nice card on eBay where I don't need to use pack odds. I just know that's the card that I want. So I just pay a premium for that than odds. I mean, than just ripping. And sometimes ripping is fun just for the hell of it. But I haven't gotten anything big. And I do remember a few instances, speaking of what I perceive to be loaded boxes, Chasing Cardboard. They said that they received some sort of item from Topps. And people are coming after me left and right, even some of my loyal supporters, saying like, you need receipts to basically make these, assumptions or just speak your mind. And the Chasing Cardboard said, I got the box from Topps. And then there was this Mike Trout acetate short print card, which I think went for thousands of dollars. Some kid pulled it out. And the Chasing Cardboard guy, I think his name is Ty, he said, man, I've opened so many packs. I've never pulled this card. And then I watched a video with Pac-Man. Now, it's not Panini that he is sponsored by. I believe he's sponsored by Panini. And he was opening a basketball case with, what's that athlete's name? Cunningham?
Cade Cunningham?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cade Cunningham.
Yeah. And then he pulled that card of Cunningham saying like, I've never pulled this out of this pack before. I'm like, yeah, how the hell you do that with an athlete of that caliber? And then same thing with Chasing Cardboard. Yeah. I mean, I could go through other examples. I mean, there's Great Curator. He pulled a really scarce card of Stranger Things and the odds were very low. Okay. That's, so you're telling me that's another coincidence? Like Mama Breaks. People get mad when I bring her name into it, but she pulls a card at a show, I think it was earlier this year, and the odds of pulling it's like 1 out of 4,000, and one of her followers gets that pack, and it's televised. Could it be a coincidence? Sure. It's just becoming weirder and weirder and weirder. And that Jackie Robinson card that I talked about earlier, right? Just not even looking at odds. This just seems strange. And the Chasing Cardboard card, I think it was 1 out of 3,000 or something like that. And then on YouTube, all of a sudden, oh, we pull some card. And I've never seen that before. Like, it's weird.
Yeah. Do you think that a lot of these people that may or may not be getting the loaded boxes, like if they are getting boxes that are preloaded, do you think that they know that they're getting loaded boxes, or do you think they think that they're just getting lucky?
I think earlier on they probably thought they're lucky, but I think now they are pretty sure they're getting loaded boxes because of the work that I do. Other people DMing them. And it may make them feel uncomfortable just having to think that, but they realize we have to feed our families. So I have no choice whether that person like me is right or not. And maybe in the back of the head thinking, hey, that AIH guy is right. The Sports Card Radio guy is right. Dan the Cardman is right. Splenda is right. All of us are right. So.
Yeah, I mean, it. Like I said, with the card porn thing, like there's so many things that are starting to add up to maybe this guy's not crazy. You know what I mean? And just
Right.
with like the style of content where it's not like you're not putting out like a bash expose. You're basically putting out your opinion on what you feel of, company, person, XYZ. And it's very similar to the way Dan does it, from kind of his background and,
Right.
you guys both have that same type of like, let's ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. If something looks funny, what's wrong with saying, hey, this is off. Let's talk about it,
Yeah, exactly. There needs to be more of that. But like I said, people are pre-programmed and they want receipts beyond a shadow of a doubt to actually believe what's going on, because once again, it's all about cognitive dissonance, and a lot of people are naive. Earlier on, I said that, this is basically a suburban hobby. And if you grow up in the suburbs, I grew up in the suburbs, but a lot of people technically are privileged if you grow up with, even if you're middle class, compared to the rest of the world, you get to see nice things. And they may not tend to see some of the rougher things that happen here in the US or in other parts of the world. And I don't think some people can see the fact that there's a lot of evil or hanky panky that goes down because they don't see it in their neighborhood. And because of that, the way they grew up, they have doubts that, hey, look, this is not happening. This is the hobby that we love. Like, why would they do that? This is bad for marketing, but they don't realize that even if you're like a free market capitalist, there's still a lot of hanky panky that goes down in these corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't think, like Arnie said, hey, if you are up in the up, you definitely have nothing to worry about. And he also made a comment, said, that he pulled 2 of those acetates from a full case. and yes, they can be pulled. And I don't think that's what it is. I think it's from a standpoint of is everybody knows that the cards are going to be pulled, but the thing is it's that out of those acetate cards, there's still only a certain number that are the go cards, the ones that are people truly on the hunt for, the ones that have all the value and everything. And those are the ones that seem to end up in certain hands, where the ones that are not valuable end up in all people's hands. A couple weeks ago on one of my rip and chips, I pulled, and I don't know what the value is. I think the value I believe is very, very small. But I went ahead and pulled one of the rarest cards that I ever pulled. And it was funny. I pulled it out of a blaster box out of 2022 Topps Chrome Platinum. It was one of the employee cards, which if you look on like Cardboard Connection, they're only supposed to be in 17,351 hobby packs. They don't even say that you can get them in blasters and everything, so that could go ahead. I mean, but the thing is again, not a valuable card. So yes, I don't think it's that we, the, for lack of better words, little people can't pull the special, the 1 of 5s, the 1 of 10s. It's that we don't pull the Shohei. We don't pull the Julio Rodriguez. We don't pull the Mike Trout. We get, I don't know, we get the guy who, we get the relief pitcher. you know what I'm saying? We get that guy. We get like the 5th starter.
To get Nico Horner. Which is okay. But it's no Mike Trout. Right. Like you were saying earlier, or you're implying earlier. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think that's where it boils down to. Is it's not that we can't pull those cards. It's that we don't seem to get the ones that everybody is hunting for.
Exactly.
For sure. And that makes a lot of sense because like I've seen my buddy Marty like literally go into card shops and drop thousands, and it's like unless he hits like a case hit And it has to be the right person, because you could end up with like a downtown of Baker Mayfield, and then it's like, unless you're a repacker, that thing is literally just doomed to sit forever. Unless you find somebody that really likes Baker Mayfield, which you might have a hard time selling that to his family right now.
Where did he go again? Oklahoma's last year?
Yeah, he went to Oklahoma in school, and then he went to the Browns, and then he's in Tampa now.
He went to the Rams and then Tampa.
Oh, yeah, he did go to the Rams. Huh?
Yeah, that's right, for a year. So maybe an Oklahoma Sooners fan may want one of his cards. Who knows?
Potentially.
Dom had a question. Did you see Dom's question there, Anthony?
Oh, yeah, I did have it highlighted. Let me grab it again. I know that's Steve. He was asking, what do you like to personally collect?
I like to collect a lot of Chicago-based cards. I like TTM now. I've gotten into that, and my goal now is to get these Cubs autographed players and see which ones will sign them. I have Ryan Sandberg that sent me his autograph. I paid $10. He lives like, I think, a little over an hour away, and that was one of the quickest autographs that I've gotten, which is 4 days, 4 business days. Yeah, it was nice. So I want to get that. I want to try to get Andre Dawson's autograph. I know he signs, but you have to pay a fee, which is fine. I would like to do that. I'm trying to do that with some Chicago Bulls ex-players. I did get Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the Chicago Bulls, who won 6 world titles with the Bulls back then and 1 title with the White Sox in 2004. So that's my goal right now, is just have a Chicago theme around it and go from there, because I've lived all my life here in Chicagoland.
Big flag behind you doesn't give it away.
Yeah, exactly.
I had no idea you were a Cubbies guy.
Yeah. Yep.
How do you find TTMing? Is it I mean, as far as results go, like if you send out the 5 players, what are you seeing, kind of rate and stuff?
I haven't looked at an exact rate. Right now, it's about 70 to 75% of the time, if I had to take a guess. And I usually look at players that will sign the cards. And I always make sure before I send it out, do they request a fee? And then I put that fee in there, or cash or whatever, and go from there. And it's nice. I've gotten some players that are over 90 years old that have sent me cards. Bob Cousy, he sent it to me. My other buddy, John, who I've gotten on my program a few times, he tried sending it to him, but his daughter said that he's not signing anymore at that time because of health reasons. So, I got lucky and got his autograph. So it's nice. I had a bad day and I got Bob Cousy's autograph. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good way to cheer up the day.
Yep.
What's the coolest TTM, Dom's asking, that you have in your collection?
What's the coolest TTM? I think I should have brought my cards with me. Maybe I'll get some in a few minutes. I have to run to the restroom, but cool. A Turk Wendell card. Do you know who Turk Wendell is?
I do.
Sounds
okay.
Familiar.
Yeah, he's a pitcher for the Mets.
Player?
He's pitched for the Mets and the Chicago Cubs. And I remember as a kid, the dude used to like brush his teeth in the dugout.
Yeah, he was.
That's really cool.
He had, he had some idiosyncrasies.
Yeah, exactly.
Did he have one of these?
Yeah. He might have had one of those. It wouldn't surprise me if he did, Anthony.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, I'll be back. Let me get some of my cards.
Sounds good, brother.
I'll come in a minute or two. Yeah.
Lady fellas in the house.
Yeah. Hey, while we have a little break, I just want to let everybody know. I don't know. I forgot to tell Anthony to say something before him, but next week's show is going to be on Thursday, pretty much one time only. Because of some stuff we have going on, and probably not being able to start right at 10 o'clock. So we decided to move to Thursday, and we'll go from there. This is not a Philadelphia Phillies hat. It says SP, stands for Sandy Plains, Dominic.
Yeah, so again, guys, make sure you put that programming note for next week's episode. And if you guys aren't subscribed yet to Huddle Card, make sure you do, because we do alternate our weeks between my channel and his channel. So you won't want to miss any of our episodes. So make sure you go and check out his channel. He puts out videos all the time as well. Does rip and ships as well. Does a lot of different, pack opening type videos and stuff like that as well. So make sure you give him a follow. I should have a few more videos coming out this week. Going in like the next week, guys, my channel is going to be a little bit quieter than normal because I'm going to be going on a cruise. So literally, like, I'm not going to have any internet access or anything like that to be able to do a lot of the stuff I normally do. I'll probably set like 3 videos to like release while I'm gone, but you guys will hear a lot less from me next week, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for me, though, because I'll be floating around in the middle of the ocean. I'll be a happy boy.
Sorry, Dominic. I apologize. Okay, a Slab Alvarez SGC 10 card for compensation. Yes, sir.
There you go.
Wilson Alvarez.
So have you picked up any decent cards recently, or anything that you would want to talk about?
Not really. I mean, I was bad, I guess, per se, and did
That's my most recent pickup.
Oh wow.
I wanted an X-Fractor, but I settled for the Refractor just because it was like considerably cheaper. And then I went with Beckett just because like they're literally cheaper than even SGC at this point.
Really?
I literally got a BGS 9 for like half the price of a PSA 9. Which is like crazy to me. But yeah, that's like the newest addition to the PC is the Big Ben. I've had a base one for a while. I ended up selling that as part of like the move up to this one. And a few other things too.
That's very nice.
Originally, this was the one I wanted. I was trying to actually trade this guy over on Next Gen for it. The X-Fractor, basically the same thing, just an X-Fractor instead of the Refractor. But this is like considerably more expensive. I think it's out of like $279 or something like that. But yeah, I was happy to end up with at least a Refractor.
Maybe you can get, what was it, Mark Malone? Mark Malone, you might be able to get him. Wasn't he a Steeler?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was definitely a first-round pick that didn't work out too good for us.
Well, hell, I know what it's like that with quarterbacks.
I'm kind of hoping Kenny doesn't follow that trend. Honestly, though, like I like Kenny Pickett. I don't think he's going to be a bust, but he ain't Big Ben. Like that's one thing. Like I'll say, like I'm a Pickett fan, but literally, like I miss Big Ben so much. Like having that quarterback that just for like 20 seasons is like giving you a chance to go deep in the playoffs and be competitive. There's like nothing like that.
Yeah.
Wish we had a quarterback that could last 20 years in Chicago. We barely have ones that last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have Trubisky now, so I totally understand that.
Backup, yeah.
Luckily, I think Pickett's going to play this week, and we don't have to trout him out there in front of the faithful.
I mean, what's funny is that the Bears traded up for Trubisky. That was the same year that Mahomes was picked, 10th or something like that?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Could have, should have, would have.
Did they trade up for Fields too?
I don't know.
Or they just had.
I mean, it was the GM. The GM, really wanted Fields.
Do you like him?
Yeah. No. I mean, he's probably a nice guy, but as a quarterback, no. I mean, I would have preferred. I forget what year Fields was drafted in. Was that 2 years ago?
2021, I believe.
2021. Okay.
Yeah, it was
So,
part of that big quarterback class.
yeah.
Yes, this is year 3.
Year 3. Okay.
Yeah, because he would have came he
Yeah,
was
that's right.
drafted in 21, so he
21.
started 21, 22 is year
Right,
3.
right.
Buckeye quarterbacks are tough, although I mean, I don't want to jinx him, but at least, maybe CJ Stroud might be the one guy who might be able to turn it around for them, but
Did he have to be the one to turn it around to against my Steelers? Like, I talked so much crap to like everybody I knew before that game too, and then I literally had to eat it for like 3 hours as the Steelers were utterly decimated by a rookie quarterback.
well, you didn't do your research.
I'm like literally that big of a homer. Like every year I pick the Steelers to win. I don't care if they suck. Like we had Cordell Stewart and I'm like, oh, we're going all the way this year. We're doing it.
Bears had Cordell Stewart at one point too.
I remember that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was maybe a year he didn't do so well, but
Yeah,
one of the 30 quarterbacks under the Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers reign. And there's going to be more.
Mm-hmm.
But now they have Jordan Love, so.
Gonna be interesting to see what happens with him.
Well,
So
I got this, like I
What
said
we got?
earlier. This was the Turk Wendell card.
Nice.
So if you look at it, he colors the card. Do you see it at the bottom?
Oh, that's really cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then let me see if you have to look really carefully, he draws at the corners in black. He I think it'll be hard to see it with this camera.
Yeah.
But he takes his time with his autograph. His autograph is one of the neatest autographs. So this is one of the coolest cards. Someone told me about him coloring on the card. I didn't see it until they told me. So I think this is probably the coolest card. It has no monetary value whatsoever, but it's a collection, right? So that's what I like about that.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And then a few other cards that I have. Willie O'Ree. He broke the color barrier in hockey. He's from Canada. And he had to deal with a lot of stuff, I think, in the 1950s. So this is one of the cool cards. You only have to pay $12 for it, just for him to
autograph. I can only imagine what he went through in the 50s. I remember
someone knocked his teeth out.
I remember going to some Penguin games in the 1990s, and Anson Carter played for the Boston Bruins. And there were literally in the 90s people shouting racial slurs on the ice. Like, so I can only imagine like how bad it would have been for him in the 50s. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. Like I said, someone knocked his teeth out.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's a cool story though, man. Like that's
it is. It is really nice. Got this Bill Mazeroski, since you're from Pittsburgh.
Heck yeah.
He charged a $10 fee. Very neat signature. I think this is second year card.
That's a great looking card.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, look, he's in his 80s. I want to get his autograph. I could buy it online, but I think it's much better if you buy it, if you get it and then wait in the mail and he signs it. I have more joy in that. I understand that someone may sign someone's card and it may not be him or for any other people, but vast majority of them, they're actually real signatures. But I do in the back of my head, if I wanted to sell them, I would do my due diligence before ever selling these cards.
Sure.
So what do you use? So you say, hey, you know what? I don't know. I'm just making like tomorrow. I'm going to do I want to send some cards out, for TTMing. What do you look at from a criteria perspective as to who? Obviously, you have to have a cut, or maybe you know what? No, just who? How do you? What is your process?
Well, first of all, I go to some TTM forums to see who signs. And then I see, okay, this person signed. I'm like, oh, I like that guy. I want his signature. I want Ryan Sandberg's signature. I want Bill Mazeroski's signature. I want Turk Wendell's signature. I mean, I want, Doug Collins, who used to coach the Bulls in the late 80s.
Yep.
I want his signature, right? I want Dave Corzine, who used to play with the Bulls before I even remember. I mean, I was really young when he played with the Bulls. I just like collecting Bulls autographs. So there's that goes on. If I don't know the guy, okay, maybe it just depends. Okay, I want person XYZ to sign my card. And I didn't get to see Andre Dawson play because I was too young, but that's something that I would want to have in my collection. So that's how I go about it. And obviously they have to sign the card for me to actually buy it. But, another card, probably the not funniest name, most interesting name out there. It's a Fair Hooker. So I had to get that.
Nice.
It's a very neat signature.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with TTM. I mean, I know a couple other people, that go ahead and do it, and just the research that goes behind it to making sure. Because, like you said, I mean, if you're going to sit there and go through the time, of finding an address and getting everything sent out, you want to make sure that you're going to get back, right? You don't want to go ahead and mail out a whole bunch of stuff and then
you wasted your money. And if you buy a card and
cash and whatever,
if you crack a card and then you realize you paid all this money and the person doesn't sign it. I think one of the cards is the person hasn't signed it, so I'm like, crap. Paid $30 and $10 for another auto on it. It's like 3 signatures on it. One of the person hasn't sent it back. I'm like, crap.
That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, like, whatever. It's maybe I'll get it down the road, because sometimes people don't sign it for 3-4 months. It could be years sometimes. I saw this. I don't know if you've heard of Wax Museum podcast.
No.
Okay, but he collects TTM as well, from my understanding. So he sent something in 2015. The player that was supposed to send it out didn't realize he had it in one of his storage units or whatever, because he is moving, and then he found it 8 years later, and then he said, "Hey, sorry, man, I just saw this."
Oh my god!
Wow,
that's the weirdest TTM story that I've ever heard.
Yeah, it is crazy.
I think Dr. Beckett has an interesting story. I was listening to his podcast the other day, and he sent it to Brooks Robinson, I think, way back when. And he just recently passed away. And what happened was he got one autograph when he was living, I think, with a roommate. And then he pretended to be another, or I think he lived by himself, but he pretended to have a roommate, the same address. And then Brooks Robinson refused to sign the second one. And he sent a letter to Dr. Beckett saying, "Hey, look, I know you're full of BS. I already signed your card, and I know that you don't have a roommate," or something like that. So I found that interesting. I don't know how he detected it, but maybe because he's a good fielder or whatever, and he's really good at catching small details.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
That is wild. Get called out by a Hall of Famer like that.
Yeah.
Double dipping on him.
Double dip.
Yeah. He dipped.
That would suck to get a letter back in the mail that says, "Hey, screw you, you son of a gun. You already went ahead and got me once. I'm not getting you again."
Right.
Damn. Come on, man.
What would be even better is if he signed the letter and then you got the letter slabbed. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be nice. Dr. Beckett said that he's going to see if he has that letter, because that would be like an interesting thing for a collection.
That would be really cool, especially if you're a big fan of the player. You want to have something like unique that like displays his personality or whatever. That's
right.
super
Actually,
cool.
Dr. Beckett I sent TTM to him on an index card. He actually sent it back.
Nice.
This is what
That's really
few
good.
months ago before the national. So I find that really
That's
interesting, really nice. But then
Yeah.
he's a nice guy, and you know, Card Porn interviewed him before all that scam went down. That was wild.
Yeah.
It's another story.
What did you think of this year's national? Did you go? I should say first.
Yeah, I went to the national. It was a very positive experience, and you don't hear me say positive, but everyone was happy, go lucky. But the strange thing about it was this was one of the rare times that, you know, people from all sides were, you know, pretty much, you know, shaking hands and all of that. But there was, like I said, some hanky panky went down at the national that I wasn't able to determine at that time or figure out at the time. From my understanding, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, his agents apparently changed the rules in terms of the signing. So they had to pay $300, but then they had some grader with them. And they're saying, okay, if this is an 8, we're going to charge you $3,000. If this is a lower grade card, we're going to charge you $500, $600. So that was quite interesting. I've never heard of that, but that was the rumblings that went down. I tried emailing TriStar about that, and, you know, no word from them, but I believe that did happen. And what also was interesting was that whole card porn scam went down at the national, and a bunch of people, from my understanding, were hanging out with card porn that time. And other people have mentioned privately and publicly that he was at the Golden dinner. And, you know, Ken Golden and I did have a conversation. This is not at the national, but this was regarding card porn. Of all the crazy things went down with the card porn situation, Ken Golden wanted to talk to me about that. So I found that to be wild. And what else about the national?
Did Ken show you his 6-figure bank account?
Yeah, it's 8-figure, right? Isn't it 8-figure?
Oh,
more figures than I got. A lot more figures than I got, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, as far as card porn goes, with all of the connections he has within the hobby, Good Old Boy Network, whatever, do you think he's going to be completely blacklisted now that his laundry's out there? Or do you think that, you know, maybe 5 years from now, there might be another account pop up, Cardboard Erotica, or, you know, another play off of whatever the heck he was? You know what I mean? Do you think, being that he has like a background in starting successful social media platforms, like I know his food porn or whatever was like over 1 million followers or something like that, do you think he'll try to re-infiltrate the hobby, or do you think like he is going to kind of keep his distance for a while?
I think he's going to keep his distance for a while, but I do think that you could go on any of these platforms, eBay, you could go on PWCC. What's going to stop PWCC or eBay or even Golden? What if it's his wife's name that goes on there, and he just uses his wife's name? And, you know, the tinfoil hat in me is like, does this guy have other passports too? I mean, he could with different names. I don't think so, but he's pulled off so many scams out there. So he may be there in the shadows, but it would be hard for a social media account today for that to happen. But once again, anything is possible. People have very short memories. And remember, a lot of people still haven't spoke out against this aggressively because they were involved with card porn in some way, shape, or form. And I kept on trolling people on Instagram purposely just to remind them about, hey, look, you know, I know you guys were involved with it, and I'm not going to forget about that. So, you know, be careful in putting shade on me and others that were calling this out. And I've recently got that from some of these larger Instagram accounts. You know, they're starting to come at me, those that were even involved with the card porn account. So I find that really interesting.
Does it
still blow your mind that like some of these large accounts will come after somebody like yourself that has a much smaller account, or is it just like part of the job at this point that you're just used to these people coming at you for your opinions?
At first I was surprised, but then what sometimes gets me is like sometimes an account on Instagram with 3,700 followers. This happened last night actually. Ephus Pitch or whatever his name is on Instagram. He like did a reel on me, Sports Card Radio, and Hobby Shark. And the thing is that we met at the National, and he was very polite, very nice. And for him to come at me, I was kind of surprised because he's into pushback content. I'm into pushback content, but he's one of the guys that says we need receipts, we need to be more positive, right? And there needs to be people need to have a certain decorum in trying to explain these issues. And I'm like, I tell you what's going on, and I don't care if it ticks you off. I tell you the way that I see it. So when someone like that comes after me, I am a bit surprised. Other people, not so much, because look, they're part of the go along, get along gang. And some people may have them actually come at me because I think that's what happened with some of these accounts for the past few weeks. I've been getting DMs from people saying, hey, you interviewed Shave Vlogs. This was over a year or maybe a year ago. And they're saying, oh, he's a shill bitter. You're buddies with him. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I actually did a video calling it out the other day. But, just because you interview someone doesn't mean that he's your buddy, person that you haven't spoke to in 8 months. And I throw it back at those people saying, hey, your other buddy also had them on a live stream. Are you going to call them out? Then it's crickets.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting.
It's kind of hard though, like in this hobby, like it almost seems like if you go into a crowded room, you could literally throw a stone in any direction and you're going to hit a scammer or a scumbag or, somebody that's trying to get over on kids or, just any number of like terrible people. You know what I mean? For like every good person, there seems to be like, a company or a person or something that just seems to be like trying to prey on those good people.
Yeah, exactly. It's an unregulated industry and the barrier to entry is very low. And in a market where it's hard now to make money, I mean, you could still make money. What's the best way to do it? To scam people, to trim cards, to use Kurt's Card Care, to mess around with the slabs. Someone told me the other day that they think they could take the SGC slab very easily, just swap out the card, take out the real card, put it in a fake and sell that, and then no one was going to notice, or a lot of people won't notice. So there's so much stuff that goes on, and that's why I personally like getting involved in the low end. The high end doesn't make any sense because a lot of these cards, in my opinion, are trimmed. And I've told that to some vintage people out there, and then they say you're negative. That's their response, even though there's ample of evidence that a lot of these cards have been worked on.
Yeah.
And that's why I have very few cards now that are worth more than $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I think back to like, PSA 10, like Mickey Mantle's like 52 tops cards. Like,
right.
Man, those are the type of cards we stuck in spokes. Like we weren't putting in sleeves, top loaders, card savers, like anything like that. So yeah, I mean, to see something that does get like a PSA 10 in 2023, you know what I mean, or anytime recently, you got to figure there's a high probability that there's been at least some work done, whether or not it's been outright trimmed or, people were over there trying to reshape the corners and edges with those little tools or, spraying it with stuff like God knows like what's happened to that card before it got into that slab.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm assuming that, once again, a lot of these vintage cards are They've been worked on.
Yeah.
They've had to be. And I think that scarce card, Ty Cobb card, where there was only a very limited supply, a bunch of them are trimmed, from my understanding.
I'd heard
And
that.
they said that, or they're worked on. They're saying that you need restoration of these cards because this is high in demand and there's not so many out there. And I think Mastro did some work on one of the cards himself. So that's
well, if you want to do that, if you want to work on a card, if you want to do all that kind of stuff, I mean, look, to each their own. But then if you're gonna turn around and then sell that card and false advertise it as being, real, no work, no
Right.
nothing, like, hey, it's just fresh out of a pack. You know
Yeah.
what? That's just wrong. That's
Yeah,
where
exactly.
the line has to be drawn, and that's where those people, they need to be called out more, and it'd be not necessarily just called out more, but it has to be, look, don't trust that person over there. People have to stop buying, but it seems what happens is it's like it doesn't make a difference.
You know what's crazy?
I do X, Y, and Z, and I'm still gonna, and people will still line up at that person's table to buy their stuff.
It almost seems like we're going to have to get to a point just like with a car. Like, hey, does it have all of its original parts or is this like stuff been restored? Like,
Right,
are we getting there
exactly.
with our cards, especially with the vintage at this point?
Yeah, the thing is with the car, you go to CarMax, they could look at your car by the VIN number.
Yeah.
These cards, how do you know if something's worked on?
Yeah, you really don't. Even the graders don't know for the most part. That's the difficult part. Like, just speaking of interviews I've seen with like, say, SGC with Pete or like Nat Turner, people have specifically asked, hey, if someone uses Kurt's Card Care or,
right.
like a Mr. Minty or like one of these type of kits, how do you know? And like, I'm pretty sure Pete straight up said like most of the time we don't, you know what I mean? Like, unless there's like openly cream or something on it, like, we can't tell. Like, there's no way to detect that right now.
Yeah, and what's quite funny with the Kurt's Card Care situation, people said I was crazy enough to just talk about it constantly. And then eventually other people got annoyed of it and they started covering it. And then that led to that interview, like you're saying. I think Neo interviewed Peter from SGC regarding what you're talking about. They can't detect it. And I DM'd Nat Turner about that, about Kurt's Card Care. And he said that it's basically hard to detect as well. So how many of these cards have been used by these guys? And
so people brag about Kurt's Card Care, but they disclose their sales.
No, they don't. They don't at all. I mean, that sale where I went ballistic on that Herbert card that allegedly sold for $1 million, which I don't think it sold for $1 million. Darren Ravel did a story on that over a year ago. And I don't know how on earth, no offense to Card Ladder, how did they believe that Justin Herbert card was $1 million, that there was no hanky panky going down? I get it. They're in the business of verifying sales, but if something seems way off from a money standpoint, where a Tom Brady card a couple of years ago didn't sell for that much, you have to, pre-pandemic, you have to ask yourself, why is this Herbert card selling for this much? It's weird. It's odd. I mean, granted, that sale, though, was disclosed that Kurt's Card Care was used. Now, Kurt said that he was just taking off, basically, I think it was a fingerprint or whatever, and he wasn't taking off any marking of the card. I think he was taking off a marking of the card, but it is what it is. I mean, now people are understanding that, hey, look, Kurt's Card Care is probably not the best thing to do. And now people can't even use Kurt's Card Care. They're resorting to shill bidding. Just like that guy, Shay, he got busted for shill bidding. So If he got busted for shield bidding, who else is shield bidding? So it's like,
Yeah.
that's why I don't like the high end, because there's so much room for fraud out there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's so volatile too with the way the market moves. Like you can really
Yeah.
lose your butt if you're not smart.
Yeah, if you spend like tens of thousands of dollars in these cards, yeah,
Mhm.
it could go down a huge chunk.
And I mean, I guess, you know, from a standpoint of it, that's where I think, you know, who is it that is that a when you're turning on that high end, those high end stuff, excuse me, like I truly wonder what percentage is an actual collector versus someone who's investing, thinking if I'm going to buy this card for 10,000, and then maybe in a few years, if this player does well, I could get 20,000 for it, you know, stuff like that. So I always wonder when you look at that, some of that high end stuff, how it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you buy the Mickey Mantle, right? Obviously, you know, I mean, you know, if you want to be a collector, that's cool. But I could see like some of those types. But I mean, you know, just those that other range of cards, you know, high end, but not, you know, the $1 million cards, but you know, I mean, you know, the 10,000, the 20,000, the $30,000 cards. And I mean, to me, it's amazing that, you know, you'll see someone, they'll open up, you know, one of those, you know, like a National Treasures or something along those lines. And they pull the logo man, you know, of, you know, the #1 rookie. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is a $25,000 card. Why? And
Yeah,
what are you
I
going to
don't
do
know.
with it?
I don't know where you come up with these numbers. Not you, but like where these guys come up with the numbers. Just like Top says that, hey, we're gonna buy back these Bowman Chrome cards. One of the cards for $35,000. I think one of the guys is on Pittsburgh. Was it Pittsburgh or San Francisco? I forgot. But
The one of one stuff?
yeah, the one-on-one stuff.
Yeah, there's that one kid. I think his name is
Arias?
Salas or something like that, right? There's a kid who's a catcher as a Salas, and then they have like 75 grand or just some kind of crazy
Some
number on it.
crazy number. I think they're trying to like pump up the secondary market, in my opinion. But I don't know what they're doing with this. Once again, I think Hanky Panky went down. I could be wrong. And now they're going to get celebrities to just pump this stuff up and use the breakers. It's just wild. And then once again, I'm going to do a video on this probably in the next week or so. But these breakers, besides Mama Breaks, in my opinion, get these loaded boxes. I mean, consistently getting cards that it's like 1 out of 20,000, 1 out of like 5,000. How do you get these? Why can't the average Joe get them? Going back to that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Steve wants to know, will you buy him a new KD?
Right now, no. Sorry, man. Sorry, man.
Awesome. Guys, if you have any last questions for Raul, we're going to start to wrap up shortly. I want to be respectful of his time this evening, but feel free to throw him in the chat and we'll ask him.
I do.
Fire
What's with the Funkos?
Oh, those are my wife's. She sells a bunch of items.
Oh, very cool.
And she started to get into Funko. She'll transition to other items probably when the economy goes under, in my opinion, the next year or so. Probably gonna move into other items at that point.
Do you collect Funkos or anything besides cards?
Yeah, I collect mainly sports ones. So
Okay.
I have like a Anthony Rizzo Funko Pop, Chris
Nice.
Bryant Funko Pop, Patrick Mahomes Funko Pop, Babe Ruth Funko Pop, Khabib Funko Pop. So a lot of sports figures that I have. Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
I have like a bunch of LeBron ones myself. So I'm
Okay.
a big Cavalier fan. Being from
Okay.
Pittsburgh, it's like the closest team we have.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
That sounds good.
Well, I definitely go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, I want, you know, we were talking about that refractor, the buyback stuff. what I find interesting is I wonder if does that set the market for that player?
That's a good question. The thing is that these are low volume. There's not that much out there. So it's really hard to say, because if you just look at maybe like an Apple stock, there's millions of shares traded on a daily basis. We're going for a one of one and then other cards of this guy out there. Will it make an impact? It's hard to say, to be honest. And I think ultimately it's going to be player performance, and could this guy perform at a very, very, very high level? If they can perform at the level of Shohei Ohtani, then sure, that price may be used for pricing other cards, but it's still very, very challenging because, once again, there's not too much price action to determine that.
Very true. Cool. Any other questions, Michael, before we wrap up?
No, I'm good. Just thank you very much for coming on with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. We genuinely do appreciate it, Raul. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Raul over on either one of his channels, like I said, they are down in the description of this video. And in the pinned comment, if you're watching this live, there is a link directly to AIH Sports. So make sure you guys go give him a follow and support him with a lot of his endeavors over there on the channel as well. Alrighty. Appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you again next week over on Huddle Card Collection. So make sure you follow
Thursday night.
Yep. See you guys.